Hey everybody, it's Gunpla. Welcome back to my channel. Now before we get started, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of my channel, newtypehq.com. I want to have the link down in the description below, and when you click on that link, you'll automatically get 10% off your total order. So choose wisely on which kits you want to get or supplies. But I'm very excited to announce that I was actually sponsored by GodHand to make this video for you guys. They sent me tons of cool material to review and share with you because I only have experience using their nippers and their tweezers, both of which are amazing products. So I'm very excited to take a look at other things that they make as well and let you guys know about them as well. So again, a big thank you to GodHand for sponsoring this video for you guys. Now let's get into looking at the actual products. So GodHand did send me quite a bit of material, so let me go ahead and start reviewing or going over some of the stuff they sent me. I just got a whole bunch of airbrushes. Now these are from the Brush Pro line, and what's interesting is that these are all made in Japan. They're not made in the US or they're made in China. They all come straight from Japan, which I believe most of GodHand products are produced in Japan. So this is the packaging that they come in. All the brushes do come with a little metal tube. This is metal, maybe hard plastic, but it does come with this thing that you can insert the paintbrush into, and it will protect the bristles from being bent, and it makes it just easier to store in general because I can just toss this in my drawer versus having to normally put it on. I keep all my paintbrushes in a cup. Now before I get started into actually reviewing these paintbrushes for you and showing what they can do, I want to talk a little bit about the background. These are meant for strong solvents, meaning they're very hard to get damaged. All these brushes are made of a high accuracy artificial hair, also known as PBT, which are all made in Japan. Compared to a regular brush, these Brush Pro series, they don't shed and the bristles don't get frayed, which can keep the fine tips. Compared to using the regular animal bristles with solvents, they tend to get damaged and shed and the bristles get frayed. But again, with these, they're meant to stay strong against solvent. So I've actually decided to use here a spare Capico kit that I have, and I will be using this to display, what these paintbrushes can do. So first, I actually put the name tag here at the bottom so I remember what this is, because the names are in Japanese here. So it tells you which paintbrush this is, but I can't read that. The focus. So here you see it says the GodHand, and it says here the use in Japanese and the size, but unfortunately I can't read that, so I just decided to stick here the information in English so I can know which paintbrush I'm using. So again, this is the Point Brush M that I'm going to be using, and this is good to paint small parts such as eyebrows and accessories. The size of the bristles are 6 millimeters, so very tiny. I'm going to be painting this area right here. This is crazy because the paintbrushes that I normally use are just terrible compared to this right here. And there, now the little metal buttons have been painted on him. So next I'm going to be using the Point Brush S, or size small, and this one is really good to paint super tiny parts, like basically a figure's eyeball, just about. This is so precise and so tiny. The size of the bristles on this one are only 5 millimeters. Super freaking tiny, just look at that. Now just so you guys can get an example, these are some of the paintbrushes that I used to use. Obviously no more now that I have these, but so these are some of the smaller size that I acquired at my local paint store, and then now compare it to the GodHand ones. Can't even come close. So next up here, I'm going to be using the Oblique brush size small. Now this one's really good for painting deep areas sharply because, if I can get this thing to focus, there we go. So you can see the shape of the bristles are angled and they're flat. So basically this one's really good to do sharp lines because of the diagonal cut of the brush. So I'm going to actually be painting here the hand, because I think this color will look pretty good on here. This is a gunmetal. Get a little closer to the camera. It's just really hard to film and kind of focus on painting to make sure I don't mess up. And there are his hands painted gunmetal. And lastly, I do have two paintbrushes left. This is the flat brush here. So almost the same as the one I just used, but instead of it being diagonal, it is completely flat at the top. Some information about the bristle size on this one is, so the width of the bristle on this one is only just 2 millimeters again, and the length is 4. Again, all these paintbrushes are super freaking tiny. Next up is the fine pointed brush in a size large, as you can tell by how long these bristles are. This one's really good for dents and tiny spots, and it can paint with ease without protruding, and just paint just wherever you want. Let me compare it to the other ones that I received here. Then maybe should I use a white? Yeah, that's better. So let me just use a white backdrop. So the first one here, that one right there, this is the small, medium, and large. And as you can see, the large is definitely longer than the other two just by a smidge. But compared to the size medium, it is much thinner. So actually for this one, I'm going to be using here a spare part of the Zaku Mega Size because I feel like this brush would do a really good job as actually using to do panel lines. So I kind of wanted to show you guys how that would look. I'm going to take a little bit of my panel line solution because the brush that I normally use is very thick, so it's hard to get inside these panel lines very well. Make sure the camera is in focus. As you can see here, it's panel lining very well just because of how thin and tiny this brush is. So it fits perfectly here in the panel lines. So this is probably going to be my now go-to for panel lining just because of how much better it is at controlling, you know, where the paint is being applied to. Finish up this side. Panel lines done, and it looks absolutely fantastic. No excess paint all over the parts like you would get with the normal panel line brush. So all in all, very pleased with how this looks. Now the next thing I want to show you guys that GodHand sent me is what's called here the brush maintenance starch. Basically what this is, it's a soluble starch for maintaining your brush's bristles. And what it does is it basically makes your brush bristles brand new, and it straightens them out and stuff like that. So now I'll be showing you guys how to actually use this starch product. So first you're going to need water that's very hot, at least 90 degrees Celsius. And then the next thing I'm going to do is add about 30 dashes of this product in here. You're going to use, you know, an end of a rod or something. I'm just going to use the end of the paintbrush, and you're going to mix it very well in here. So you see how the brush looks before. All the ends are very frayed. So what this product is going to do is going to smooth it out. So you're going to dip it in here, and then you're going to adjust the bristles with your fingers. And here is how the paintbrush looks after. As you can tell, all the bristles have been fixed and moved back into place. Looks like a brand new paintbrush. And what's cool about this is this solution is actually good for 10 days. You're going to store this in the fridge and toss out after 10 days because it may develop mold. And again, because the bristles are made of that PBT material, they can be fixed back into the original position. Now, last thing that I want to go over that GodHand sent me is tons of different sanding sponges. So I got a whole bunch in here, as you can see, all different size of samples. Now I have actually used these before. I ordered them from New Type HQ, and I absolutely love them because these can bend and squeeze into any nook and cranny that you need to sand down on a model, which is very convenient. It's a little bit of information. So basically, this is assortment A, that these colors right here, they come in different sizes, as you can see. And these ones are basically used for rough trimming and shaping. These over here that are green, blue, and black, they're basically what's called assortment B, and they're used for removing grooves and scars from surfaces. And lastly, these white ones right here, there are super high finishes, as you can see, or not finishes, but grays. You can see 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, and even 10,000. So very, very fine, fine, fine. They're gonna be mostly used for polishing without using a compound, which is pretty cool. Not only can you use these on plastic, but you can also use them on painted surfaces and metal parts. So you can polish metal parts without a compound by using these. Now let me take some of these apart so you can get a better look at the inside. What's really cool about these is here you can see some like uses, tons of things you can do with them, and these are actually really hard to freaking tear. Like, you can't tear this with your own hands. You would think it'd be really like easy to rip, but as you can see, this is not ripping with my fingers. It won't rip if you hold them with the nippers and try to cut into it. It won't tear. So yeah, they're very, very highly durable. Basically what I like to use is I kind of sometimes fold my fingers and sand across. So basically what you would do, here's an example using a 30-minute mission kit. Let me get this to focus. Is you obviously would take this and then, you know, just sand down the part. And then gradually work your way up with a different grit size, so you have a smooth finished product. I usually always start off with a 400 and I work my way up. Something I did want to show you guys, which is why I just took out the kit, is that you can actually remove the chips here. You can either use a toothbrush or you can use a wet towel. And it's all gone. Pretty cool, right? I didn't even know you could do this. Now, these can be used either by dry sanding or you can use them also with wet sanding. They do also have these much thicker ones right here, and let me show you what they look like. Now basically these big block ones are mostly used for sanding down flat surfaces. As you can see, they're absolutely super thick, and usually people will use them for wet sanding a large area. Kind of go over a little bit about the sizes and their uses. So they come in different sizes. You can see I got 2, 3, and 5, and then of course you got these big blocks ones, which are the 10 mm, which you would use mostly for flat surfaces. But here are the different sizes. So you're basically like, which size should I get? So the 2 mm is gonna be mostly used for curved areas. You know, you'll bend it around your finger and things like that. So that's one really, this one will mostly be used for, is getting into like those small nooks and crannies and stuff like that. Now the 3 mm is basically your like all around one. So it can be used almost in any position. It's very flexible because again, it's not super thin, but it's not super thick. So it can be used on almost all curved surfaces and things like that, and for some flat surfaces as well. Now the thicker one, the 5 mm, is mostly going to be used for flat surfaces because this one doesn't bend as well, or I mean it's really thick, so it won't fit into the smaller nooks that the 2 would be, or even a 3. So this is mostly going to be for flat surfaces. Maybe some that have a gradual slope and things like that, but nothing too crazy. And that is officially everything that GodHand sent me. Alright, that's it for the review. Let me know what you guys think. If you think that that's something that you would buy or you wouldn't, and let me know why. Anyways, I'll see you guys around for the next video. Adios.